Hello, my name is Dr. Denise Schwanowski, and this is this week's Dose from Dr. Denise, where I hope to teach, show, and inspire you how to release your God-given health and life potential. I am super excited about this video topic this week. I gave a little hint to it last week in California when I recorded my video there, but this week I want to talk about why I stopped drinking alcohol 1 year ago. So on August 7th, 2017, I stopped drinking alcohol and I made it through a full year. That was my goal. And I want to talk to you today about why I did that and how I did that and what the result has been. So I will give a disclaimer. It might be a message you're not ready to hear, or perhaps you just absolutely, this is not an issue for you whatsoever. But I will just say that if there's that little voice on the inside of you that says, hey, maybe this is a message I should listen to, then I'm going to encourage you. Each week I record a video and I release them on Sunday on my A Dose from Dr. Denise, and I ask you to share those with others. So this is going to be one that I really do ask you to share if it speaks to you. So why did I stop drinking alcohol? So let me give a little history. Just like you, probably, if you drink alcohol, you started when you were young. I started in high school and we started with Boone's Farm wine. I think it was strawberry. We used to pour it in the big gulp containers with straws. And, you know, I drank on and off in high school. I have to say in both of my college degrees, you know, I can't say that I remember drinking a lot other than perhaps binge drinking, because there was just too much data to memorize. And that just wouldn't have been able to happen in college if I had been drinking excessively. And then I was married, I had my children, so my pregnancies, breastfeeding years, wasn't drinking a lot during that time. So it really didn't start creeping in probably till, you know, my early 30s. I'm 49, almost 50. And that's probably when it started happening. And I can't say that I noticed anything about it or thought that it was an issue in my life till about 11 or 12 years ago. And so this is what happened. In 2006, I joined a chiropractic management group at the time, and that group was called the Master Circle, and they really highly encourage that you keep journals. So I've talked about this before in previous messages, but I keep a hardbound journal, and I write quotes out of books, and I write love letters to myself, to God. I write goals and affirmations, and so they're my own personal diary, if you will. And then I'll reread these journals every couple months. I'll just grab a random one, and I couldn't help but notice a recurring theme when it came to personal goals, which was to drink less. And I wrote that often. So rather than just stopping alcohol, which is probably what I should have done 10 years ago, I would cut back. And every spring, to correlate with Lent, I would give up alcohol for 40 days. And boy, did I think that was a big deal. I thought that was a huge sacrifice. And everybody knew I was giving it up for 40 days. And even come like November, there's a lot of times where I started looking forward to that. So I did that for a few years. But, you know, over time, I knew that this was going to become a problem, that alcohol was something that I was probably self-medicating with. I was looking forward to it just a little bit too much, and I knew that I needed to stop. And so what happened last summer was several things. One, early in the spring, we had gone out in Philadelphia with a really fun couple. We were meeting them for dinner around 8 o'clock, and my husband and I got into the city around 1 or 2 o'clock. We had gone to a pub and did a beer flight, and then we went out to another restaurant and got a margarita or two, and then we went back to the hotel, got changed for dinner, and we met this couple at the hotel bar, and I probably had another 3 glasses of wine there. By the time we got to dinner at 8 or 8:30, I was absolutely done and falling asleep, and the dinner was short. We went back to the hotel, and I had to go to sleep. And as alcohol invariably does, you know, if you think back over your life and to the worst possible moments in your life, usually alcohol is a factor. So that night, Steve and I got in one of our worst marital fights ever. I remember that clearly. And then the next morning, I woke up not so much with a hangover, but I woke up in this state of anxiety and depression, and I literally felt like I was crawling out of my skin, and I really felt depressed. And I noticed that that had been occurring more and more often. So, and I started to attribute it to drinking. Another thing that was happening was my boys were coming of age. They were at college where they were drinking more, and I found myself drinking with my own sons. And I used to like say, is this really what I want to do? Is this the message that I want to send my children, that this is okay? I mean, don't we have enough societal messages? Certainly, advertising. I mean, think about the Super Bowl and the advertising for one commercial for Budweiser, you know, millions of dollars of advertising. We can't have fun as adults without an alcoholic beverage. That is the message. And I was happily partaking in that message, and I didn't like it anymore. I wanted to be a better example for my sons. And, you know, the final thing that happened was a year ago, last August, I had gone away to another seminar. I went by myself, and, you know, I drank some over the weekend, and I found myself wanting the alcohol, but not really liking it. And so I thought, you know, this is not good. I came home and I remember reading, I think it was on Facebook, and there was a boy at one of the Philadelphia universities that had died from alcohol intoxication. And I just knew, like, that's it. I'm done. So Monday I woke up, it was August 7th, I think it was a Monday, and 2017. And I just told my husband, I'm done. I'm not going to drink anymore. Now I knew I needed a little bit of help with that, because I definitely did not label myself as an alcoholic, but, you know, recognize that on one side of this line, this slippery slope that goes downwards, you have alcoholic down here, and on the other end you have the person that drinks at a wedding. But it's a slippery slope, right? You're heading towards that direction. And so even though I wasn't there, maybe I was up here on the slippery slope, and I thought, you know, let's figure out what you can do to really seal the deal. So I Googled some books. And the book I came across was called This Naked Mind by Annie Grace. And I absolutely fell in love with the book. I downloaded it, I read it overnight, and it helped me to cement this decision. And I highly, highly recommend this book. And the book clearly explained to me why it is that I was feeling more and more periods of depression and anxiety. So let me just summarize some of the points out of the book. And again, I recommend that you get it. It's called This Naked Mind by Annie Grace. And her book is also based on another book called The Easy Way to Stop Drinking, which is based on a book called The Easy Way to Stop Smoking. But The Easy Way to Stop Drinking is written by Alan Carr. So what are some highlights from her book? Number one, alcohol stays in your system for up to 10 days. So if you can go full 10 days without having a drink, then there is no more like ethanol in your system. And so anything beyond that in wanting alcohol is just the habit of it. It's not necessarily the addiction of the substance. Number two, that leads me right into the second point, is alcohol is indeed a drug. And even though we seem to separate it in our country, we call it drugs and alcohol. Alcohol is a drug. It changes your physiology, and until we label it as that, then we're not going to come to terms and be truthful about it. And you can say, well, anything changes your physiology. Sugar changes your physiology. No, you know, drugs are in their own class. They change your behavior. They make you want it versus liking it. And in the book, I learned that cocaine, heroin, tobacco, and alcohol are the most addictive substances. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're the most deadly right away. Obviously, heroin and cocaine are more deadly, and that alcohol and tobacco are a slower kill. But regardless, they're addictive substances. And what happens is you find yourself wanting it versus actually liking it. We can say that we like alcohol, but truly, if you sip like just pure ethanol, like tequila or whiskey or whatever, it's an acquired taste. But, you know, when you first took a sip of it, it was horrible. Let's face it, it wasn't, you know, the only reason we like it is that the society tells us, you know, that we should. At least that's how I feel. Maybe you don't feel that way. But the book, what really sealed the deal for me in the book is this, and I know I'm going to go over 10 minutes here, but listen to me on this point. When we drink, it's a depressant. We know that. It affects our neurology. But in addition, just the wanting of alcohol, the pouring of it, the thinking about our Friday nights. For me, it was thinking about a Saturday night with Cosmo, or thinking about having 1 or 2 glasses of Chardonnay after a long day of work. Just thinking about it releases dopamine in your system, and that's this happy hormone. Well, when you become accustomed to alcohol and you develop a high tolerance for it, you're releasing more and more of this happy hormone, and the body is always intelligently working. Your body is such a miracle, we forget it. So the body releases a hormone to offset the happy hormone. And I learned in this book, it's called dynorphin, and not that the name matters, but essentially your body's also going to release hormones that make you unhappy to offset the happy hormones, to maintain homeostasis. And that's what I felt that morning after drinking in Philadelphia, that you start to crash and burn the more you're drinking alcohol, because you're over releasing these hormones that make you unhappy. And what you find out is everyday joys, like walking your dog or taking a hot bath or just, reading a book, you don't get the same pleasure out of them as you once did, because we feel like we need to have alcohol in order to have a good time. And I wanted to break that habit. So Annie Grace says that you need to go a full year without alcohol, so that you go through birthdays of family members and friends, and you go through all the holidays, and you prove to yourself that you indeed can have a good time without alcohol. And I did. And I have to tell you, yes, I'm doing this because I'm just still giddy over the decision. And so how has my life improved? Well, in every possible way. I'm healthier because of it. I've lost some weight because of it. That's not why I did it. I feel more empowered. I'm a better role model for my sons. It's important to me. I'm reducing my risk of like major life-threatening diseases, dementia, Alzheimer, cancer, heart disease, stroke, violent deaths, car accidents. I mean, how many things can alcohol be linked to? In fact, the studies are that alcohol is related to 60, the World Health Organization says that alcohol is linked to 60 different diseases and injuries. It kills 88,000 Americans a year. And each week, the statistic is like a little over 300 people die from heroin overdoses, 400 die a week from prescription medicine overdoses, and 1,600 people die a week from alcohol. So I just feel like we're sugarcoating this. We're not being truthful with ourselves in this drug in our society that has far worse outcomes than benefits. The benefits are so minute, and in order to receive a benefit from alcohol, it's like 4 to 6 ounces of red wine, maybe once a day, every other day. And if that's what you're doing, then I say, mazel tov. But probably it's not what you're doing. You're probably going way above and beyond if you're like me. And if you're being honest with yourself, I'm going to ask you to take out a piece of paper and write down all the pros to drinking and all the cons. And if you're being honest with yourself, that con list is going to be 5 times longer, more than that, than the pro list. And that's what I found out. So am I going to go back to it? Lord willing, no, I'm not. Because my life is blessed, and what you see is what you get. There's no substance I'm putting in my body that is taking over my physiology, changing who I am. This is me, like it or not. I'm a better mom, I'm a better wife, I'm living up to my full potential that God gives me. God's the one specifically that told me I had to stop drinking, because I knew that I wasn't going to really reach my potential if I was thinking about alcohol and drinking alcohol and wasting precious moments. And I'll conclude with this, is that we are wasting time, money, and energy on our alcohol dependence, in particular in this country, but frankly worldwide. If that message speaks to you, get the book, This Naked Mind, read it, pass on the message, and let's see if we can become the change that we want to see in this world. God bless, peace out, and I'll see you next Sunday.